All right, y'all. Today we're gonna look at this boudoir photography business, see if they have BSS with their local or their city Google search here in Vacaville, California. So we're back here in the GBC universe, where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more about that, pinned video, home post somewhere on this profile. And this is because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph here in white. Over on the left, we got the highest intent peeps, Google searchers, social searchers, searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city today, right now. Focus on talk about BSS here in all our videos. Over on the right, we got the lowest intent peeps, peeps that ain't searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now. And actually, most of them have no idea what the heck boudoir even is. We reach them through interruption ads on Instagram and Facebook. And we talk about that over on our sister brand, profiles, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And over there, we currently only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so BSS is boudoir search sameness. That is when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. If we got 0 slots on page 1 on Google, man, we're basically already dead here. Because we now have the data, we know that approximately 80% of Google searches never even never even go to page 2. They're page 1 and done searches only. So approximately 80% of the marketplace. So that's the bulk of the marketplace. So we're invisible to 4/5 of people from page 2 or deeper. So we got to get on page 1. But 1 slot on page 1, that ain't enough. Because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1, which means, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers, everyone's got 1 slot. Everyone looks the same. No one stands out. So guess what? A buyer's simply going to click down through everyone, open everyone's website, do price quotes, price shop, price compare, negotiate, and that kills our margins. And since we're not, we don't look any different, we do not want either of these scenarios. Now, 0 and 1 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It is the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation. So that's, more boudoir photographers entering the marketplace every single week, it seems like. Basically, anytime anyone gets a new iPhone or new camera, new gear, they're throwing up their Google My Business profile saying they shoot boudoir. They're throwing up a website saying they shoot boudoir, and they are throwing up they're posting them on Facebook groups saying they're now for boudoir photo shoots. So the same number of sellers, or large number of sellers to the same number of buyers, means it's harder for every single seller. Margins compress, people disappear. And so everyone really understands market saturation. It happened in a big way with COVID. People lost their jobs, so they still had to work. Everyone's got a phone with a great camera. Okay, easy to start a boudoir photography business. Market saturation. Now, the one most people don't know about is the false belief of page 1 equality. So it seems like a lot of boudoir photographers simply kind of, passively accept that, as a boudoir photographer, you're going to get either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. But what actually happens is, let's say you got 1 slot on page 1 on Google, you're on like slot 8. A few new boudoir photographers into the market pushes our website back to slot, whatever, somewhere on page 2. And boudoir photographers are like, oh, well, that's how it is. You normally get either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. And this is 100% incorrect. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days. So I know it's false I know this is a false belief of page 1 equality, that a boudoir photographer gets, 0 or 1 slots and that's it, because I went and did the opposite. So what I discovered was that Google will actually give as many slots on page 1 as somebody wants to put in the effort to acquire. So, okay, now we can build a solution around this, and we've done that. See that in 2 pictures. Now, a boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer at DBP. And, if we got 0 slots on page 1, we're on page 2 or deeper, invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. Obviously, we're disappearing. But if we're on page 1, we got 1 slot, we're still basically invisible. It's basically disappearing, being price shopped against everyone. Both cases are bad. And we care about disappearing boudoir photographer because if we are a disappearing boudoir photographer, that means our, it's kind of like the warning light, the flashing check engine light, the warning signal, saying, hey, our boudoir photography business itself is on the path to actually disappearing. But thankfully, we now have a solution. We've discovered through testing that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And S-cubed methodology, I mean, it works exactly as the name says. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. So we show up there when they search them. And when we do this, when we saturate social search, that's kind of like all the snow on the backside of the Andes Mountains, the east side, down in South America. That snow melts, goes into small streams, flows into small streams, small rivers. That's social search saturation. And then that all flows into the Amazon River. That's page one search on Google is the Amazon River. So it all starts with saturating social search. And the interesting thing about SQ methodology is it's the only thing that I've seen that can allow the boudoir photography business to continue to grow in the face of market saturation and even massive market saturation. The only other second thing that could allow that is having a large, well-known brand. So brand would obviously solve that, but that takes 5 to 10 years to acquire. We don't have 5 to 10 years. AI is here taking people's jobs. We need to dominate fast and fight against market saturation as fast as possible. And something I see that kind of looking at estimates here, I believe SQ methodology can actually help people build a brand actually approximately 8x faster than normal methods because we're showing up so frequently on so many different surfaces. So it's kind of like the only turbo brand builder boost thing out there. So imagine if you've got a large well-known brand and you're using SQ methodology, you're basically untouchable by market saturation. So an example of still growing in the face of market saturation, let's say we're in a boudoir. Let's say we're in, I want to go to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Let's say we're in Virginia Beach, Virginia. There's 1 million boudoir photographers there. Each boudoir photographer has their own websites and they shoot boudoir. Everyone's fighting for those 10 organic page one slots on Google. Massive competition. And what actually happens is we're like, man, the only way we can compete, well, if we had brand, but we ain't got that large, well-known brand. So the only other second option is we got to utilize SQ methodology. So we take it, we crank it up to the max. And when we crank it up to the max, let's say we're ranking for the first 300 slots for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords across all of social search. And when we do that, let's say that flows out onto Google, and we saturate the first 300 slots, page one of first 300 slots of Google for those highest intent boudoir buyer searches. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google, so that means we're taking up literally the first 30 pages. And so for any boudoir buyers out there, anywhere they search social search, Google search, we're basically the only boudoir photographer that pops up. We've literally taken all the slots from everyone else. I mean, this would be SQ methodology to the ultra super max. But if we're essentially the only one being found, whose business is growing? Ours, in the face of massive market saturation. Whose business is disappearing, slowing down, vanishing? Well, it's the 999,999 other boudoir photographers that can basically only be found Google page 31 or deeper. And we already know approximately 80% of searches never even hit page 2. So like, dude, who's actually going to page 31? Ain't nobody going to page 31. Now, once true with SQ methodology, we have page 1 visibility, P1V. So initial benefit, more slots, page 1 on Google. Second initial benefit is actually, when we take those more slots on Google, we're actually kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1 and putting them on page 2 or deeper, effectively making them invisible. And when we do that, we actually turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers and eventually they'll most likely exit the market. So a lot of boudoir photographers actually get this benefit better than the first one we talked about. Now, page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So the GBC universe recommends, as a recommended minimum, of getting 3 out of 10 slots on Google page 1. And that's because if everyone else has got 1 slot, our 3 slots, we're going to dominate them, look way better. People wonder why Google's recommending us so much and be clicking through ours. And in the super rare case, someone else has 2 links. Well, guess what? We are, our 3 still looks better than there too. So we're basically dominating all scenarios here. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our micro universe here. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality, which now we know is false. And we now have a solution. We can utilize S-cube methodology to solve all this. Achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results, utilizing S-cube, purely utilizing S-cube methodology for myself. So I want to, frank for the term here, BLCS Boudoir. I want to dominate page one of Google, BLCS Boudoir. So I utilize S-cube methodology. Started with 0 out of 10 links on page one of Google. Let's see what I was able to get to. So we got organic, slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I was able to go from 0 out of 10 slots page one on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page one on Google in only 10 days. And these are my results I got purely using S-cubed methodology. So now main event here, we're going to look at this boudoir photographer Vacaville, California. Might have to copy this, bring it over if I don't have the tab up. So we're going to see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for their local and city search. Actually, their local and city search is actually the same in this case. All right. There's a Vacaville. All right, so going at the organic. Nope. 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 There we go. We got one. And let's see. Nope. 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 All right, so we got 1 out of 10. So, in Vacaville, where is this place? Stockton. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's between San Fran and Sacramento. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 slots for Vacaville, California. So yes, we do have BSS, or this boudoir photography business does have BSS, boudoir search sameness, and we have not met the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google, and that's recommended because, dude, if we're 3 out of 10 local and 3 out of 10, 3 out of 10 local search, 3 out of 10 city search, page one, we can basically guarantee we're not disappearing. We're either treading water or we're growing, most likely growing. That's why we want to hit 3 out of 10. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, meaning you've done your local searches, your city searches with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, and you're seen in, you had BSS for at least one of them, or you did not hit the GBC recommended minimum, 3 out of 10 slots page one Google search for at least one of them, those high intent keyword searches. And you've accepted the false belief of page one equality is exactly that, a false belief. You kind of broken through that mental barrier and understand, wow, Google will actually give us as many page one slots on Google as we want. And you have, you've decided you need the solids. You're saying S-cubed methodology is the only solution for this. You like the initial benefits, which is, one slot, more slots, page one Google search. You like the other initial benefit, kicking your competing boudoir photographers off page one, relegating them page two or deeper, making them invisible. You actually like that one the best. And you understand market saturation, yeah, more peeps, new gear over time, more boudoir photographers over time, blah, blah, blah. And you're looking ahead and you're saying, wow, AI is taking a lot of people's jobs right now. And last time a lot of people lost their jobs, COVID, massive market saturation occurred. So you're like, uh-oh, even more market saturation is going to occur this time because this is actually going to be permanent job losses as AI is taking more and more people's jobs as it gets more, as AI gets more and more powerful. So you're like, all right, there's going to be more and more big flood of boudoir photographers into my area competing. So you're actually realizing you actually have to fortify your position on page one, not just get these slots, but actually fortify your position so much where you have so many backup links that Google wants to rank for you on page one, but you've already taken up too many slots where Google puts those links, page 2, 3, and 4, and you're kind of filling up those positions where Google wants to rank those on page one, but you already got too many slots. You've already basically taken all of them up. And so you want to fill up kind of your backlog of links to fortify your position, kind of like fortifying the levees down in Nolens, Louisiana, because that city is, below sea level. fortify your position so basically no other current campaign boudoir photographer can ever rank page one Google search, and also so that basically no other new boudoir photographer coming in to the marketplace because they lost their job to AI can ever rank page one Google search either. And you're seeing for that benefit to do that fortification, SQ methodology is the only solution out there that enables that benefit with the massive number of links that it can produce. And you want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility, because you understand that you need these things in order to be on your path to become the number one boudoir photographer in your city. You also like the future benefits of SQ methodology. Building the brand approximately 8x faster than normal methods because we're doing so much more volume across so many more surfaces than anyone else in your area. And you're actually you also understand doing SQ methodology is building up all these invisible thematic keyword columns, a cluster of keywords that we're plugging into your brand, kind of out there in the internet, invisible cyberspace. Your brand name, your website, your business name, your social handle names, kind of connecting to all those. And this feeds into the AI, backend AI mindshare with those keywords. And as a result, every day you successfully execute SQ methodology, we are increasing the probability that AI recommends us in search positions such as this, AI overview, most premium search placement here. It's organic. Nobody can pay for this. And also increased probability of showing up in AI search apps, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. And these AI search apps increasing, dude, every single day in usage. Google standard search slowly declining every single day in usage. And the last time I did search for boudoir photographers with AI search in a city, it was a ChatGPT that gave me 3. I actually then went and did a manual search, Google and Facebook. And dude, I found like 60. So we need to get these AI overview slots and chat AI chat app recommendation slots, one of these 3 as fast as possible, because this is where all the attention's going. So you're seeing SQ methodology as the only solution out there that can enable all this in a relatively quick time frame. And you also understand that since I'm only working with one boudoir photographer per city as my current plan, that you can actually get all these benefits, build up a massive gap between your competitors, and actually prevent your competitors from using this technology. And for that reason, you've decided to become be a number one, first mover in your city for this technology. And that's because you understand the converse, where if one of your boudoir photographer competitors signs on with me first, they're getting all these extra page one links, pushing you off page 2, 3, 4 deeper, fortifying it themselves page one, so you'll basically never have a shot to ever even rank page one Google search. Building up the backend AI keyword mindshare, massive gap between you and them, kind of that mindshare momentum. And in order for you to compete, you would actually have to you'd have to actually rederive SQ methodology. You'd also have to increase, basically, well, you'd have to equal our output, but all that would every single day, but all that would do is, maintain the gap me and your competitor currently have ahead of you. So you'd have to actually outwork us 2 to 3x every single day. But you're not even 100% confident you've derived the strategy, the technology correctly in the first place. And so as a result, you are, you'd have to you wouldn't even be confident to put in the time. And if you did, you'd be like, man, who's got 80 hours to do all this work? So as a result, hearing all this, like, yeah, screw that. I ain't doing all that. You decide to be the first mover. Hit us up first, be the first one in your city to utilize this new technology. So if that's you, shoot us a DM. The hospital is currently closed to new patients for new patient intake, but once we open the hospital for new patient intake, shoot us a DM and we will see if you qualify for utilizing our S-cubed methodology.